Hey designers! In today's tutorial, we're going to create something fun and easy in After Effects. This will be a beginner-friendly session, so if you're new to After Effects, don't worry. It's simple to follow along. Let's dive right in and get started. First off, I've created a 1080 by 1920 document, which is perfect for mobile content. Now, let's import the files we'll be using. Right-click here, select Import File, and here are the files I'll be working with: a sky image, a mountain image, a PNG of a man, and 2 clips. All of these are transparent PNGs, and I grabbed them from FreePic, so you can download them from there as well. Drag and drop the sky image onto the timeline. Then, follow that with the mountain image. After that, add the 2 clips by dragging and dropping them onto the timeline as well. Now, adjust the positions of each element individually. You might want to scale them up or down, so feel free to use full scale to get everything looking right. Scale them down or up as necessary and make any adjustments to their positions based on your preferences. Now, let's move on to the next step. Select the second flip layer, Flip 2, and press Ctrl+D to duplicate it. Right-click on the duplicated layer, go to Transform, and choose Flip Horizontal. Now that it's flipped, position it to the right side. When you're happy with the scale and position, select the man layer and drag and drop it onto the timeline. Press S for scale and scale it down as needed. Now, place the man on top of the first cliff, adjusting both the position and scale of the man layer until it looks right. Next, select all the layers except the sky, and enable 3D for each of them. Right-click, go to New, and choose Camera. I've selected the 50mm camera here, so press OK. Now, right-click again, go to New, and choose Null Object. Grab the pick whip from the Camera 1 layer and drop it onto the Null 1 layer. This way, when you move Null 1, the camera will follow it. Also, enable the 3D switch for Null 1. Next, change the view from one view to 2 views. The second view will adjust automatically to the current view. Now, adjust the layers to make sure everything is positioned well. Move cliff 1 below the man layer so they animate together, as if the man is standing on top of the cliff. Select both the man and cliff 1 layers and adjust their Z position to move them backward a bit. This will separate them from the mountain layers. For the mountain layer, press P for position, and you can either adjust the Z position by changing the last value or by moving the blue arrow. Let's move it backward, away from the man and cliff layers, making sure everything is positioned as needed. Once that's done, press F for scale, and scale up the mountain layer to fill the whole screen. Now, go back to the man and cliff PNG layers. Press S for scale and scale them up too, adjusting their positions as needed, particularly their Z position and Y position, so everything aligns perfectly. Now, let's work with the second cliff. Select the Cliff 2 layer and adjust its X, Y, and Z positions. Move it a bit closer to where you want it to be. Make sure it's not too close to the first cliff, so adjust the X, Y, and Z positions to spread them out as needed. Once that's done, take the text tool and type in the first text. To make sure the anchor point of the text layer is in the center, hold Ctrl and double-click on the pen behind anchor point tool. This will center the anchor point automatically. Now, we'll duplicate this text layer by pressing Ctrl+D and moving it down. Do this several times depending on how many text layers you need. Don't worry about replacing the text just yet, just focus on the duplication. After duplicating the text layers, go ahead and replace the text in each layer. Change the second text to something different, and repeat this for all the text layers. Once all the text is in place, select all the text layers and make them 3D as well. Now, adjust the Z position of these text layers, moving them behind the man and cliff layers and above the mountain layer. Adjust their X, Y, and Z positions so that they're spread out nicely across the document, each at a different position. After positioning them, let's rotate them a bit for more variety. You can do this by selecting each layer and either manually rotating it using the rotation tool or pressing R to bring up the rotation options and adjusting it that way. Do this for each text layer, adjusting both the rotation and position if needed. Once all the text layers are arranged and rotated, move the time indicator to the 2-second mark. Now, select all the layers, press P for position, and click on the stopwatch next to position to set the first keyframe. Move the time indicator back to the beginning of the timeline and adjust the X positions of all the text layers. This will make it look like the text is coming from a distance, from behind the man, creating the effect of them moving toward the viewer. Now that everything is in place, let's move forward with adjusting the text layers. Let's scale them down a bit since they seem too large. Once the scaling is adjusted, preview the animation to see how the text is moving further away from the person. It should be looking good now. Next, select the Null 1 layer, press P for position, and click on the stopwatch next to position to set a keyframe. Move the time indicator a few frames forward and adjust the Z position, moving it closer. Also, adjust the Y position if needed. If it's coming too close, move the Z position back slightly to get the desired distance. Once you're happy with how it looks, so move a few frames backward from the last keyframe where the person is close. At this point, we want the text to fade out as the person comes closer. Select all the keyframes, press T for opacity, and click on the stopwatch next to opacity. Now, move the time indicator to the point where the person is closer and set the opacity value to 0. Preview it to check that everything looks smooth. Now, it's time to add another text layer. Use the text tool to write the new text, enough. Make this text layer 3D as well, and adjust its Z position to move it a bit farther back. Adjust the Y position to move it upward, and increase the size of the text so it's visible. Offset this text layer so it only appears after the previous animation, not before. Select the Enough text layer, press T for Opacity, click on the stopwatch next to Opacity, and move the time indicator a few frames forward to add a new keyframe. Go back to the first frame of this text and set the opacity to 0. This ensures the text fades in smoothly after the previous animations. Press Ctrl D to duplicate this text layer. Offset the duplicated layer to match the position where the time indicator is now. Select the original Enough text layer and trim it from this point by pressing Alt and the right square bracket to trim the layer. Next, select the duplicated Enough text layer and use the Text tool to change the text to something new. Highlight the new text and make sure to scale it down a bit to keep it visible and clear in the composition. Once the text is changed and positioned properly, preview the animation. You may notice the Enough text should disappear a bit earlier, so go ahead and trim the original text layer and adjust the offset for the duplicated layer accordingly. When everything is aligned, it should look perfect. Now, let's apply the glow effect. Go to Effects and Presets, search for Glow, and double-click to apply it to the Clear Your Mind text layer. Change color A and color B to a yellowish shade. Zoom in to see it more clearly and increase the glow radius. Make sure to change the glow based on from color channel to alpha channel. Then, increase both the glow radius and glow intensity to your liking. Once you're happy with the glow effect on the first text, select the glow effect, press Ctrl-C to copy it, and then select the Enough text layer. Press Ctrl-V to paste the glow effect onto this layer as well. Now, to apply the same effect to all the other text layers, select them and press Ctrl-V. For these layers, change the color from yellow to red. Finally, preview the animation to see how the glow effect brings everything together. You should now have a glowing, dynamic text animation that looks smooth and professional. Now, after the Clear Your Mind text has finished, we want to add a new text. First, let's preview and see how long the Clear Your Mind text should stay. On the timeline, find the point where this text should disappear and adjust it accordingly. Once the Clear Your Mind text has cleared, duplicate the layer by pressing Ctrl-D. Offset the duplicated layer to start right after the original layer ends. Using the Text tool, change the text from Clear Your Mind to You Are Doing Your Best. Adjust the X and Y position if needed to make sure it fits the composition. Preview the animation to see how it looks. Before you finalize, let's switch to one view from the two views to get a cleaner look. Now, select the Camera 1 layer. In the search bar, type Point of Interest, and you will see the point of interest for the camera layer. Click on the stopwatch next to Point of Interest while holding Alt on the keyboard to create an expression. Inside the expression box, type. Wiggle parenthesis, and inside it, write 1,10. This will add a slight wiggle effect to the camera's point of interest, giving your scene a little dynamic motion. Once the expression is applied, click anywhere on the composition and preview your animation one last time. That's it! You've successfully created a dynamic text animation with After Effects. If this tutorial helped, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Ace Designs for more tutorials like this.